How to Save the World and Other Things on My To-Do List. One Woman's Totally Serious Guide to Inner World Domination by Lizzie Allan, Creator of Hilarapy. Chapter 14. Living with Purpose. There is something people spend their whole lives searching for. Purpose. As if it's hidden somewhere just out of reach. As if it's waiting to be discovered in the right job, the right relationship, the right moment of clarity that will finally make everything make sense. As if one day, if they look hard enough and long enough and in the right places, it will appear, fully formed, clearly labelled, unmistakable. But purpose is not something you find. It is something that makes you feel alive. It's not out there. It never was. It's in you, in the things that light you up. The things that move you, the things that feel natural and joyful and somehow both effortless and deeply important at the same time. It's in the moments when you forget to check the time because you're so fully present in what you're doing, in the conversations that leave you energized rather than depleted, in the work that doesn't feel like work because it comes from somewhere real in you rather than somewhere performed. Purpose is the way you serve the whole through your unique expression, your gifts, your voice, your particular way of seeing and being and moving through the world. You are a piece of a much bigger picture, and there is a place, a specific, irreplaceable place that only you can fill. No one can do you like you can. No one has your exact combination of experience and insight and wound and gift and way of being. No one tells your story the way you tell it, or sees what you see, or brings what you bring. And for your purpose to be fully realized, you must be completely, unapologetically, without editing or management or apology, yourself. Say this out loud. I am living my purpose. I do not need to search for it outside of myself. I allow it to move through me. My life is an expression of truth. My presence is enough. My full self is exactly what is needed. Take a breath, let that land. Here is where people get stuck. They think purpose has to look big, impressive, important enough to justify the space it takes up. It has to be a movement or a platform or something that can be clearly explained at a dinner party without people looking confused. And so they look at the lives of people doing extraordinary, visible things and they think, that's what purpose looks like. I need to find my version of that. And then they compare. They measure their quiet life against someone else's loud one. They try to shape themselves into something they think they should be, more focused, more defined, more clearly going somewhere obvious. Or they go the other way entirely and disconnect. They stop trying. They slot themselves into whatever role is available, the one their parents approved of, the one that pays reliably, the one that society recognizes as legitimate, and they live inside it, at a careful distance from themselves. Sometimes purpose gets replaced with people-pleasing, with being whatever the room needs you to be, shape-shifting to keep everyone comfortable, never quite landing in your own skin long enough to feel what's actually true for you. Sometimes it gets buried under fear, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being enough, the fear of wanting something that feels too big and being disappointed, the fear of being fully yourself and finding out that who you actually are isn't wanted. So we shrink, we protect, we play small. We offer a managed, reasonable, acceptable version of ourselves and keep the real one somewhere private where it can't be judged or compared or found lacking. And in doing that, we move further and further away from the very thing that would bring us to life. But here is something I really want you to hear, because I think it frees a lot of people from an unnecessary burden they have been carrying for a very long time. Purpose is not always loud. Say that again to yourself. Let it actually land. Because most of us have been operating under the unconscious assumption that if our purpose isn't visible, isn't impressive, isn't the kind of thing that gets a TED Talk or a book deal or a significant social media following, then it doesn't really count, that we haven't found it yet, that we are still somehow behind. But purpose doesn't have a size requirement. Sometimes it looks completely quiet, ordinary even. It looks like listening, really listening with your whole self, without waiting for your turn to speak, to someone who hasn't really truly been heard in a long time. It looks like that person driving home afterward feeling lighter than they have in months, not quite knowing why, just knowing that something shifted in that conversation. It looks like holding space, like being the person in the room who doesn't need to fix or advise or redirect, who can just be present with someone in their difficulty without making them feel like their difficulty is a problem to be solved. That is rarer than you think. That changes people. It looks like creating something small and true, a meal made with love, a garden tended with care, a piece of writing that one person reads at exactly the right moment and feels less alone because of it. It looks like showing up consistently, dependably, with genuine warmth for the people in your life. Like being someone who makes the people around them feel more like themselves rather than less. None of that looks impressive from the outside. None of it trends. None of it gets measured or ranked or rewarded in the ways our culture tends to reward things. And yet the impact is real, profound even, because aliveness is contagious. When you're living in alignment with what is true for you, when you are being genuinely fully yourself in service of something real, people feel it. They lean toward it. They are nourished by it in ways they might not even be able to name. You become, without trying, a permission slip for the people around you to be more of themselves. That is not a small thing. That is not a consolation prize for people who haven't found their real purpose yet. That is purpose. Real, living, genuinely impactful purpose. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, purpose that starts quiet becomes loud. Not because you chased visibility, but because you were so fully and consistently yourself that the world eventually noticed. Because authenticity has a gravity to it that performance never quite achieves. Because people can feel the difference between someone doing something real and someone doing something designed to look real. But even if it never becomes loud, even if your purpose lives entirely in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the moments that nobody sees or counts or applauds, it matters enormously. Because the world is not changed only by people on stages. It is changed quietly and constantly by the people who choose every day to show up with love and presence and truth in the small moments that make up the texture of a life. Purpose is not measured by size. It is measured by aliveness. Say this: I trust what I am here to do. I do not compare my path to anyone else's. I honor what feels true for me. My purpose does not have to be loud to be real. It does not have to be impressive to matter. It matters because it is mine, because it is true, because when I live it, something comes alive. I release the comparison. I release the pressure to have a purpose that looks a certain way, or reaches a certain number of people, or earns a certain kind of recognition. I trust that what lights me up is exactly what I am here to bring. I allow that. I live that now. Whether my purpose is quiet or loud, seen or unseen, recognized or private, it is real. I show up fully for it. I give it everything I am, and I trust that is exactly enough. For me, purpose has always been about people. I see people. I feel them. I understand them in a way that has sometimes felt almost too immediate, too close, too raw, too much to carry. I have walked into rooms and known things about the people in them before anyone has spoken a word. I have sat with strangers and had them tell me things they haven't told anyone else. Not because I asked the right questions, but because something in my presence said, "You are safe here. You can be real here." For a long time, I didn't understand this about myself. I just knew that I felt a lot, that other people's pain landed in me heavily, that I could sense the emotional undercurrent of a room the moment I walked into it, the tension underneath the polite conversation, the sadness underneath the laughter, the longing underneath the performance. And it was a lot to hold. It was exhausting sometimes and confusing because I didn't have a framework for it yet. I didn't understand that what felt like too much sensitivity was actually a gift, just an ungifted one that hadn't found its purpose yet. I spent years trying to manage it, to turn it down, to be less affected, less permeable, less open. It didn't work. You cannot turn off what you are. You can only learn what it's for. The turning point came gradually, not in one dramatic moment. It came through the work, the therapeutic training, the inner work, the sitting with my own pain and finding out it didn't kill me. Through discovering that the places in me that hurt the most were the places that connected most deeply to other people. Through realizing that my wound and my gift were not separate things. They were the same thing, just at different stages of their becoming. And slowly I began to inhabit it rather than manage it, to use it rather than contain it, to let the sensitivity be the thing that serves rather than the thing that costs. My purpose is to see the light in people and to reflect it back so clearly, so specifically, so undeniably that they cannot help but see it themselves. Sometimes that looks like standing on a stage. Sometimes it looks like sitting with one person in a quiet room. Sometimes it looks like making someone laugh at exactly the moment they needed to remember that life can be light. The form changes, the thread is always the same. And yours, your thread, your particular gift, your irreplaceable way of serving the whole is not something you need to invent. It is something you need to allow. It is already in you. It has always been in you. It is what you were doing before you learned to be afraid of it. Say this now. I am exactly where I need to be. My life is unfolding with purpose. I allow life to move through me. I trust the direction I am being led. My purpose is not something I am waiting to discover. It is something I am already living. Then this. I see the thread that runs through everything I love to do. I trust that thread. I follow it. I give it more space and fewer apologies. It is not indulgent to follow what lights me up. It is the whole point. And this. My purpose moves through me whether I name it or not. I do not need to have it perfectly defined to live it. I just need to keep showing up as myself, fully, honestly, without holding back, and let it express through that. Let me tell you how Hilarapy got its name, because the story of a name is the story of a purpose being claimed. It didn't start as Hilarapy. It started as addictive comedy. I was running a successful comedy night at a dry bar in Manchester for the recovery community, always sold out. And it was unlike anything I had seen before, not because the comedy was polished or professional or technically brilliant, but because the people on that stage were being received with love and support simply for being alive, for being brave enough to stand up and find the humour in their story. The focus wasn't on how well they did, as measured by laughter. It was on their courage, their willingness to do life free from active addiction, and stand in the light of that rather than the shadow. The formula began to emerge. Something was happening in those rooms that was bigger than the comedy, something therapeutic, something that used laughter as a way in, to the truth, to the connection, to the parts of the story that shame had kept hidden. And then I got to Canada and I began the work out there. The awakening weekends, the 3-year therapeutic training program, the Hoffman process, facing my shadow with the light of love, learning to stay in relationship with myself, the daily morning practice and all of the excavation that comes when you commit to going deep. And the formula evolved, the understanding grew. This wasn't just about recovery from addiction. This was about recovery from the trauma of being alive, about helping everyone, not just people in 12-step rooms, find the courage to face their darkness with humour and therapy and real human connection. We rebranded. Addictive comedy became Hilarapy, healing with humour, because it isn't just the comedy that is healing. It's the willingness to go deep, to face the darkness, with real therapy, in the company of others who are doing the same. And I want to say something here that I think is important. This book isn't particularly hilarious. It's not meant to be. It's just meant to be real, so that you can be. We need real connection and real love and real light in this world, and that requires the willingness to embrace all of it, the darkness and the laughter, and the grief and the joy and the fear and the freedom, and still be all right. That is what Hilarapy is. That is what this book is. Not a performance, a permission. And when I saw the word Hilarapy on the page for the first time in a branding exercise designed by someone else, offered to me as an option, it felt as familiar to me as if it had always been there, in the world, waiting. Like it wasn't a new word at all, but an old one I was only just now being introduced to. That is what purpose feels like when you land in it. Not new, remembered. Say this: I do not need to invent my purpose. I need to allow it. It is already in me. It has always been in me. It is the thing that feels most like coming home. I recognize it. I claim it. I live it. Then this: when I land in my purpose, it feels familiar, like remembering rather than discovering, like something that was always true becomes visible. I trust that feeling. I follow it. I am home. And this: my purpose has been growing all along, through every experience, every wound, every gift, every chapter of my life. It didn't begin when I named it. It was always there. And now I give it my full and willing yes. Hilarapy began as addictive comedy in a dry bar in Manchester. It became comedy therapy in Canada. It evolved into a formula, a brand, a methodology, a movement. It is still evolving. It will keep evolving. And here is what I can see right now, not planned, not engineered, revealed. A bus, custom built, moving across the United States, a mobile studio and a stage and creative hub. And as it moves, it creates. Content made and shared in real time. A global audience following the journey as it unfolds, not as spectators, but as participants, already doing their own inner work, already adding their love to the field. And along the way, I meet people, real people, ordinary, extraordinary people living quietly beautiful lives. People in recovery who got up this morning and chose love over fear for the 10,000th time. People of service who show up every single day for their communities without fanfare or recognition or reward. People who have been through the worst of what life can offer and come out the other side with more compassion than most people ever find. I want to put a lens on all of that, a big, wide, unflinching lens on the goodness that is already there, on the love that is already moving through the United States in ways that the news will never report and the algorithms will never amplify. Because the USA I want to show you is not the one that is loud and frightened and divided. It is the one that is quietly, stubbornly, completely alive with love. It is the one that exists in the recovery meetings and the community gardens and halls and the kitchen tables and the porches and the fields where people are choosing every single day to be of service to each other and to this beautiful world. I want to reveal the United States of America through the lens of a love-based reality, and in doing so, offer everyone watching the choice to see it that way too. And as the bus travels, people gather, not because of heavy marketing or carefully managed campaigns, because something in them says yes. Land gets offered, spaces open, pop-up events emerge that are raw and alive and completely human. Healing with humour, honest sharing. People recovering not just from addiction, but from the deeper trauma of being alive. Love, light, laughter. And it grows organically, powerfully, the way things grow when they are rooted in truth. Online and in person begin to merge into one living, breathing field of connection. The person following the journey from their kitchen in Ohio feels as connected as the person standing in the field in California, because they are doing the same work, all pointing in the same direction, all consciously adding their love into the collective field. And at some point we gather, all of us. I cannot tell you the exact number. I have seen 100,000. It may be more. It may look different from how I currently see it. But I know the feeling of it. a stadium or a field full of people who've been touched by recovery in some way, people who have done the inner work, people who came to an event or followed online or simply felt the ripple from someone who did, all of them gathered consciously, not to escape life, but to be fully in it, adding their love and their light and their healed and healing hearts into the collective field. The energy of that gathering, I cannot find words big enough for it. Unified, sacred, electric, the most powerful room I've ever stood in, and I have not stood in it yet. And from that journey, a documentary, Recovery Road, not a film about addiction, a film about a movement, about what becomes possible when people come together to recover and heal from the trauma of being alive, about love and laughter and what happens when enough people choose a different frequency at the same time. I know this is coming, not because I am forcing it, because I have been given the roadmap, the vision, the desire, the green light yes in my body that has never once led me wrong. The bus will roll. I trust the timing completely. The rest is already in motion. Because this is where everything becomes simpler. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to force a version of yourself that isn't true. You don't have to mold yourself into something designed for a different person's life and wonder why it never quite fits. The moment you stop trying to fit into a shape that was never yours in the moment, you begin to discover what is. And I want to talk about what that actually requires, because be yourself is one of the most given pieces of advice in the world and one of the least examined. We say it easily, we hear it often, and most of us nod along and then go back to doing the exact same carefully managed performance of ourselves that we've been doing for years. Because being fully yourself, really, genuinely, without the editing, is not as simple as it sounds. It asks something real of you. It asks you to stop outsourcing your sense of self to other people's approval, to stop calibrating who you are based on how it lands in the room, to stop making yourself smaller when you sense that your full size might make someone uncomfortable. That is not a small ask. Most of us have been doing those things for so long that we don't even notice we're doing them anymore. It has become automatic. The editing happens before we're even aware of it. Being yourself asks you to notice the editing and to put down the scissors. It asks you to tolerate and eventually to welcome the discomfort of being seen, of taking up your full space, of saying the true thing rather than the safe thing, of showing up in your actual energy rather than the dimmed, managed version you learned to lead with. That discomfort is real. It doesn't disappear overnight, but it is far less painful than the slow, quiet cost of never quite showing up as yourself in your own life. And here is what it gives back. When you stop editing, something relaxes that you didn't even know was held. An exhaustion you had gotten used to carrying just lifts. Because performing a version of yourself is tiring in a way that being yourself simply isn't. Authenticity is sustainable. Performance costs you constantly, even when you're doing it well. And underneath the relief of putting it down, underneath the unfamiliar lightness of just being there is joy. Real, unearned, not contingent on anything joy. The kind that comes from simply being alive as yourself. And people feel it. That's the thing. You don't have to announce that you've stopped performing. You don't have to explain it or justify it or defend it. People just feel the difference. They lean toward you differently. They trust you more. They let themselves be more real with you because you are being more real with them. Your authenticity gives permission. Your full self creates space for other people's full selves. Be you, fully, completely. Not the version that is likable and manageable and easy to be around. The real one, the whole one. The one that has been waiting quietly and patiently for exactly this permission. Because everyone else is already taken, and the world has quite enough of people performing a version of themselves designed to cause minimum disruption. What it is desperately short of is people willing to be genuinely, vulnerably, completely themselves. That is the rarest thing. That is the most needed thing. That is your purpose. Say this out loud and let yourself really mean every word. I give myself full permission to be completely myself. I do not hold back my expression. I do not manage my aliveness to make others comfortable. I allow my life to be joyful, full, and freely expressed. I am here to live and love and express, and I do. Then this. I release every apology for who I am. I release every held back version of myself I've been keeping safe somewhere. I am not too much. I am not too loud. I am not too anything. I am exactly right, and I step fully into that now. And this. Being myself is not selfish. It is the most generous thing I can do. My full self, alive, expressed, unedited, gives other people permission to be the same. I show up fully for myself and for them. And now the last thing I want to say about purpose, because I think it's the thing that surprises people most. Purpose is not a destination. It is not something you arrive at one day and then settle into for the rest of your life. Finally sorted, finally clear, finally done with the searching. It is alive. It breathes. It moves and grows and deepens as you do. And the more you lean into it, the more you trust it and follow it and give it room, the more it reveals itself. Because purpose doesn't stop when you name it, it just becomes more fully itself. And at every new level of your own growth, it shows you something it couldn't show you before. A new dimension, a deeper layer, a wider reach than you were previously capable of holding. Every time you do the inner work, every time you choose truth over fear, every time you return to this practice, every time you allow another layer to be seen and released, you become more capable of your own purpose, more available to it, more able to carry it fully. And here is the extraordinary thing about that. It means there is no ceiling. There is no point at which you have fulfilled your purpose completely, and there is nothing left to give or discover or become. The path keeps opening. The purpose keeps deepening. The aliveness keeps expanding. That is not a burden. That is the most exciting thing I know, because it means that wherever you are right now, whatever you have done or not done, whatever you have expressed or held back, however close to or far from yourself you have been living, you are not behind. You have not missed your moment. The purpose is here, right now, available, waiting not for you to become something different, but for you to become more fully what you already are. Say this slowly with everything you have. I am living my purpose, not perfectly, not with everything figured out, but fully and honestly, and with my whole self available. My life is an expression of who I am, and who I am is exactly what is needed. I am enough. I am ready. I am here. Then this. My purpose deepens as I deepen. It expands as I expand. There is no ceiling on what I am here to bring. I keep growing. I keep opening. I keep becoming more fully myself. And in doing so, I give more. And finally this. I don't just find my purpose, I become it. In every moment I choose truth, in every moment I choose love, in every moment I show up as myself, fully, honestly, without apology. I am becoming my purpose. Right now, in this moment, in this breath. You don't just find your purpose, you become it. And you have been becoming it all along. If you would like to download a free copy of this book, go to my website, lizzieallan.com, and find How to Save the World and download your free copy there. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share with your friends, because this is a group effort. I'm really glad you're here. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm out.